today I'm building in Moonwood Mill, and I decided to build a very small stone cottage that uses the stuff from the Castle Estates kit, because I wanted to kind of see if I can make a swampy build using the swatches that came with it and not build another castle. And I really like how it ended up coming out. I Googled, let me see. I Googled stone cottage in a swamp, and then I found a picture of, like, I guess it looks kind of like an abandoned stone building in a Danish forest. I'll pull up the picture so you can see pretty early on as the build is coming together what the inspiration was behind this. This is the picture. I pretty much just, like, replicated the shape of the build, and I also knew that I wanted, like, a body of water surrounding it. Originally, I was going to put kind of like a makeshift bridge, kind of looking like what those people are standing on in front of the cottage, but I didn't end up doing that. I just put a bunch of, like, mossy, like, fallen over logs into it. I also used some different pieces of landscape than I've, like, ever used before. I think it's from Island Living. I use these really, like, mossy, dark stone rocks to surround the ponds or, like, the swamp, I guess. And it was, like, something I've never thought to use before, but I went with a very dark exterior for this cottage, which I also don't usually use this sort of darker swatches. I don't know if you could hear the fear in my voice just a second ago. I was recording this and then suddenly I started hearing a voice in my headset. And then I realized that I was still watching a Twitch stream while I was doing this, and totally forgot. So I completely like did not expect to hear somebody like talking while I was doing this. But yeah, these are the rocks that I was talking about. I feel like they work really well for this environment. I put a whole bunch of greenery around. I don't really I don't think I do a lot of pop-up colors for this build. I mostly just use my cottage living mushrooms that I use in every single build now, where I size them up a little bit so the mushrooms are pretty large, and that's like my pop of color. It's just like a contrasting white in all of this like green and dirt that is going to happen. Also, I spent a lot of time on the like dirt path leading up to the build, and it got deleted, and I feel like you might be able to see it in the video because I did it, and then I guess, like, later on when I was, like, fixing the exterior and adding more details, it also didn't have it, but I didn't notice until recently when I went back in this lot, and I try to fix it. So if you download this on the gallery, the dirt path either will be removed again or it'll look slightly different, which, like, sometimes I do the dirt path and I think it's perfect, which isn't very often, but it's like all those times where I put a lot of effort into the dirt path and it always just disappears. But then when I like don't put that much effort into it, it always stays. So it's kind of like, I don't know. But yeah, I placed some more of these like mossy looking items around. I will say I haven't play tested this yet. I probably will before this video goes up, but I put that large werewolf's tree stump behind this one section of the swamp, and I have a feeling it's going to make the kitchen not functional, so I'll probably have to move that. I've learned my lesson. I think it's like my second build I ever did on this channel. It was in Moonwood Mill, and I could not figure out what was wrong with the lot, making it unplayable in the kitchen, and it took me so long, and the Sims never tell you what is in the way. They just let you guess over and over again until you force them to try and cook something over and over again. And sometimes, like once in 100 times, they'll tell you what object it is. And I believe it was the actually, am I lying? Did I go on that whole long thing to lie? I think that problem was, a stone. But I've had that problem with that stump before, and so I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be functional. I'll have to move it over and, like, use tool to, like, blend it in a little bit better. I don't know. I think that the grid on that object needs to be a little bit smaller because you could 100% use the items in the house visually, but the game will tell you otherwise. But yeah, I guess I was going through to see if I wanted to add purple accents to this build, and I decided against it. I think I yeah, the only bit of color in this exterior is that I go back in and I place brambles up the walls, and that has like a slight bit of yellow in it, but it's really not that noticeable. It's a lot of just like gray, browns, and greens, which I think works for this type of build. I didn't really feel inspired to use a bunch of bright colors for this. And I'm using these different fences that look like the ones from Cottage Living, but that one I'm pretty sure was from For Rent. And the swatch looked slightly different to me, which it might be one of my new favorites because it looks like a darker brown than some of the other debug fence pieces that we had that came with Cottage Living. I don't know, that exact design of fence, there's like 3 different versions of it now in debug, and I think 2 of them are the same. Possibly this 3rd one could also be the same, and I could once again be lying, but I can't remember. I feel like it looks different. And for this, like, 2nd part of the swamp, I really just kinda do the same thing again. I place the same sort of grass and things around. I left in more of what I usually do. Normally, I would cut some of this out and just be like, yeah, it's done now. But I kept some of it in. And I've been using those dirt piles in like shallow water occasionally. So I did that in this one too. And I really just am like framing this little pond and eye dropping all of the pieces again so I don't have to go through the entire catalog and find things that work around. And yeah, I use probably like the same like I guess 10 items possibly around that. It's no more than 10 items most likely, unless you want to count and tell me that I'm wrong. Oh yeah, these horse ranch like borders are really nice, but I didn't use them in this build. I guess the rocks were maybe a little bit too light compared to the vibe I was going for with this build. Oh yeah, and of course you have to use the werewolves like I don't even know what that is, but I'm pretty sure it like works really well for swamps. I think that's possibly its purpose. And so I added that on the 2nd one that I did. And I'm doing this trick again. I did this for my Palea build where I lowered in some of these rock benches to create like an uneven walking path instead of using the stepping stones in debug, which I use all the time. Sometimes those base game stepping stones are a little bit too bright too. And I needed like all the colors to be very toned down and like old looking, and those benches were perfect for that. I'm not sure if they walk like Sims will walk around through that path at all, or if they'll have to like go from a side like of the lot to get into the house. I'll find out when I go to take pictures of this build that I play test it, which I'm gonna do probably at some point before the screenshots come up so I don't get myself scared when the video ends and I'm like, oh, I didn't even finish the whole video yet. I just finished the speed build part. Oh yeah, this is where I'm going back in with just like different ivy. I'm using vampire ones for this build because I liked the way the leaves look. Yeah, you can see now that the front of the house no longer has the path in it. I didn't notice it at this point, which was good. I guess I'll notice it a week later, which was like 2 days ago. I noticed and I try to fix it. But I was literally bragging about it to my friend. I was like, yeah, I like put so much time into blending that dirt into the world. And I think for once it works. But I don't know if it looks as good anymore. And I put my signature green slime all over the house because I think it makes it look better for some reason. And I just pick out a little fountain, just a small one, and I put it off to the side. And I place some fireflies around. This is a good reminder. Hopefully I remember to take like a little video of it right as the sun is setting so you can see some of the fireflies around, which you might have seen in the intro of this build video. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not. And so this is the interior. I cut out me placing some of the wall paint around because I figured it was boring because all I did was use the same stone and some of the get together walls. I spend so long on these platforms and I change it so many times. And at a point, you'll think that it is done and I don't change it. And then I change it again later on. I was like yelling at myself while I was editing it. I was just like, oh my God, Megan, like give it a rest. But it ends up working out really nice. I put the bed up there. I also put a writing desk covered in a bunch of dirty mugs because I was like, yeah, a writer lives here and they just never wash their mugs until they all run out. So there's probably like various different molds growing within these mugs that are scattered around the desk. But I don't know if this was supposed to be off the grid. I have a feeling that that was my intention, but I don't think I focused that heavily on it with like the plumbing and stuff. So it probably isn't functional off the grid, but if you wanted it to be, you can definitely change some of the items out that don't work off the grid. I can't remember all of them. I could have accidentally made the plumbing off the grid and who would have known? But yeah, I think I'm about to fix this section and not have to change anything else. Yeah, I decided to not even put stairs over there and just have it so that they go up the platform and then they go up the other platform to the bedroom stairs, which the bedroom is just like, um, I guess how many tiles is that? 3 by 2 space. So there's just a bed and a little side table and a candle up there. This is the writing desk area. I thought that would be really nice to have over here. It's a pretty small space, so there's really just not much. There's no living room, I guess. There is a seating area, and the dining room has a couple of like long benches as supposed to be where you could sit down and eat, but Sims wouldn't do that. Oh yeah, I think that next week is when I'm going to post my like first ever like build with me style build where it's going to be probably like 3 to 4 parts of like not a lot of editing, and it's not sped up or anything. It's just me talking while I'm building instead of me talking after I already built it. So that could maybe be interesting to kind of see how the two differs from each other. I already finished the first part of it. It's just like I get so freaked out because then I get like in my head about it, and then I try to do this like multiple times and I always delete them. But this time, I feel like I really like the build that I made, but then I'm so nervous to post it. And I had a nightmare about it last night where I posted the first part, but for some reason it got cut off. And so it was no longer like 30 minutes, it was 10 minutes. And it wasn't even me building, it was like this like weird gameplay. It was like I don't even know. It was not Sims, but it was just like the scariest video I've ever seen. And I was like, no, I didn't even show the build in my build video. And then like it didn't even hit me that I was dreaming and how strange that would have been if that was The Sims. But anyway, I might have 3 videos posted next week. If it all goes to plan, I will force myself to at least post the first part, even if I don't get around to finishing like the other parts of it. The exterior is pretty much done for it. But back to this build because this is where I'm placing my moldy cups around. There's only 5 right now. I don't know if I add more. I would assume I wouldn't add more, but I decided that to fill up the desk space, that's what I was going to do. And I just placed some different papers around and some reading glasses over there. And over here is just a little table next to the bed, but it's at the foot of the bed. Why did I put the headboard facing that way? I'm not sure. I guess I wanted them to be able to look out the window. Oh, it was because I didn't want the headboard blocking the window. That's why I did that. Okay, it's all making sense now. And I'm using the castle kit doorway for the bathroom. It's like a I don't really usually like using 2 tile doors in my houses because I feel like it takes up too much space, especially for such a tiny build. But I went with it anyway because it fit the like mood and the theme of the build. I used a lot of the castle kit items. I used the floors, the walls, a lot of the windows. I mixed these windows with the large get together arched windows that have some bits of stained glass. I think they look really nice together. I also used as an accent on the roof peaks that you don't really see in the build. I used some from For Rent as well because they looked very like old fashioned and I feel like it fit the vibe of the other two windows that I picked out. This is the kitchen. It is very tiny, and then the dining room is gonna be in front of that, and then where I'm gonna place this couch is gonna be just, like, a little sitting spot. I end up changing that entire couch out. I believe I just go with, like, a single, chair, and that's it. And I moved that fireplace because I figured that that would not be functional with the bathtub there, so I moved the fireplace to the other side of there later on. I do end up cluttering the bathroom at the very end of the video, so but I just was not in the mood to clutter at that point, so I was like, "Okay, get in the bathroom stuff and then just move on to the rest of the house," because I do not have the patience for this. I just placed, like, 5 dirty mugs on a table, which I guess kind of, like, shows how little patience I had for cluttering in the moment. I took a long break from this voiceover, but because I did, I now have an update that this house is functional. That the stump I was talking about earlier, where I was like 100% certain that it would make the kitchen not functional, it doesn't interfere. My sim was also able to walk between the table and the bench, so that's not a problem. They were able to sleep, they were able to use the bathroom. Well, I didn't play test the toilet, I assumed that it was functional. I play tested the bathtub though, because that's the part where I was like, maybe that doesn't work. That seemed fine. Another update is that for some reason the fireflies just wouldn't come out, which I'm now realizing is maybe they don't come out during winter time because I think I have it set to winter, which I couldn't really tell when I was taking the video. Even though the icy pond should have been a giveaway to me, I didn't think all the way through. Like, I didn't think that much about it. But while I did do the intro, it started to snow like as soon as I started it. So, I mean, you had already seen that. I don't know why I'm sharing this news. It feels like news to me because I just discovered it. So it's like, wow, now I need to finish the voiceover because I'm really excited. Back to the build once again, but I mostly just picked out really dark wood furniture for the inside, using some gold accents with the like wall candles. I ended up changing that tray with the cups on it to be a lighter gold as well because I thought that it would blend in a little bit better, or at least I think I did. I'm almost certain that I did. I'm not sure, but I placed some clutter on top of the fridge because I figured I didn't want to put too much on the counters because I wanted to be functional. Another thing I noticed when I went back to take pictures is that I didn't put a sink in the kitchen. So I have since done that, which now that I'm saying that, I realize there is no trash can around here. There's none outside, but I think that's kind of like a universal thing. I feel like most of the time if someone downloads something from the gallery, it's almost expected that it'll be missing a trash can, but also I could just be like making that up because I don't download a lot of builds, so I don't actually know, but I know that a lot of people, like a lot of builders at least, talk about the fact that they always forget those sorts of items in houses. So that's my assumption. And over here, I put some more plants around because I thought this like bookshelf was a little bit empty on top. And so I do my usual thing of books, candles, and plants. That's apparently the only clutter I know how to do, and I don't know how to do anything else. And here is the bathroom. This is the last place that I decided to clutter because I don't like cluttering bathrooms that much, but sometimes I feel like it's necessary, and this one felt necessary because it was such a tiny build. So I was like, I can't just keep the bathroom plain. I need to put something in here. And so I have like towel rack, my go-to jungle adventure stool that I've already used in this build, and then bottles, towels, plants. I know the screenshots will be coming up fairly soon. There's not that many of them because you've kind of just seen everything in one shot this entire time for like 20 minutes because there isn't a lot of space. I wonder if this classifies as like a tiny home or small home with the tiles. It must, at least a small home. But yeah, here is the screenshots that I had taken of the build from different angles. You could see more of the clutter and the fireplace going. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Next week is going to be my build with me style video. I'm feeling a little bit nervous about it, but I also, in between this, I had recorded part 2. So at least 2 parts should be up next week. So yeah, thank you. Bye.